United Kingdom. Let's speak to Mark Littlewood, Director of Popular Conservatism. Mark, do you agree with this?
Yes, I agree with both Donald Trump and Robert Jenrick, but I think I'd probably go further still. I mean, it's not just Robert mentioned in that clip from Mike Graham's show earlier that he's worried about a definition of Islamophobia, that we might not be able to discuss radical Islam and, you know, the key political issues of the day. But I think we've actually got to get back to freedom of speech being way more extensive than that. It's okay to ridicule religions, to be offensive about religions, to offend people. And what we've done, not just over the last year, I think this has been bubbling up for 10 years or more, is that we have prioritised not causing people offence higher than freedom of expression. So we consider that if what you say might offend somebody, put their nose out of joint, not necessarily cause a crime or any physical pain to them, but just might be off colour or untoward, then you need to be cancelled. This happens in the private sector a lot. I'm more sympathetic to that because I think private sector companies can monitor their own reputation, but it's now becoming a state sector thing. Watch what you say on Twitter. Watch what you say about different religions, in particular Islam, which now seems like it might receive essentially preferential treatment under a blasphemy law. This is all wrong. I wish we had the sort of equivalent of America's First Amendment, guaranteeing freedom of speech way beyond offending people or causing people to, you know, be annoyed about what you've said. We've got it all the wrong way round. And freedom of speech is dying a long, slow and strangulated death in Britain.
I wonder if there's a two-tier aspect in this in regard to religion, as you appear to suggest there, Mark, because there are many Christians I know, I'm not a Christian, but I come from a Christian background and I know many Christians, who will say that it's absolutely fine, or seems to be absolutely fine, for all sorts of people, comedians, broadcasters, whoever, to ridicule the Church of England, to say it's, you know, it's sort of pointless, they don't really believe anything, to say that there are all sorts of things people say about religious people, the God Squad, and I'm not saying that's offensive necessarily, but just that it's almost as if Christianity, maybe even Judaism and other religions are okay to criticise and to ridicule, but actually when it comes to Islam, there are so few people who will ever do that, and we've seen the very real world consequences of that with Charlie Hebdo, for example, in France, when they did cartoons of Muhammad, who in Islam is never meant to be represented in pictorial form.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So it seems to be a desire, which you can sort of understand at first blush, Peter, to protect minorities. So we sort of take the view, well, Christians are broadly, if not the majority of the country, at least we're sort of majoritarian Christian background, but Muslims, for example, are not, Jews are not. And going back to the Charlie Hebdo cartoons, where, you know, the world's leaders were very keen to go around saying, "Je suis Charlie." Well, no mainstream media outlet in the United Kingdom was willing to republish the cartoons themselves. Why not? And actually over Christianity, we almost sort of fought this battle, going back 30 or 40 years. We used to have blasphemy laws to protect Christianity. No television station was willing to show Monty Python's The Life of Brian until Channel 4 took the risk.
Which kind of seems a bit quaint now, doesn't it?
Yeah, ridiculous. And so that battle having been won, not that I think people should go out of their way to deliberately offend Christians or those who are sort of Christian adjacent in their faith, but part of freedom of speech is to allow ridicule. And this should be across the board. There should be no special favours for Islam. It still pains me that the Charlie Hebdo cartoons aren't freely available, weren't republished the next day in the mainstream media.
Just a quick word before the news, Mark, on this anti-abortion campaigner supported by the Trump administration, who's been cleared over her silent prayer protest. This is Rose Doherty, who was arrested after police were called to reports of an anti-abortion protest near the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow in February. She was holding a sign that read, "Coercion is a crime, here to talk only if you want." And that's the point about exclusion zones around abortion clinics, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And the reason this is such a startling case, delighted she's been cleared, is we've gone a bit beyond freedom of speech now. This now seems to be freedom of conscience. Okay, she's holding a sign, but she's not berating women who are going into the abortion clinic. It's very clear she's there to speak only if you want to. We're starting to arrest people for what they think in their own head. Silent praying. It's not even freedom of expression now, it's freedom of conscience.
Although if she'd done so a few hundred metres down the road, it wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah, but I think you should be able to think to yourself in your own head anywhere, whether it's right outside an abortion clinic or not. We shouldn't have exclusion zones where you can't think
But it
and
wasn't
have
just
freedom
thought.
of
It wasn't just
conscience.
thought, though, Mark. She was communicating to people, perhaps in a very vulnerable state, going in for an abortion.
What, a very vulnerable state? Come and speak to me only if you want to. We consider that to be a statement worthy of arrest. Extraordinary. Had she been hurling abuse at these people, threatening them with hellfire and damnation, screaming and yelling at them, okay, that might be a breach of the peace. But what this woman was doing was anything but that. Come and speak to me if you wish to, and I'm going to pray in my own head. The idea that the British police force are in any way involved in lifting that woman and arresting her is, to my view, bizarre and chilling. Thankfully, she's now been cleared, but it should never have been anywhere near the criminal authorities in the first place.
Mark, thank you as always. Mark Littlewood there, Director of Popular Conservatism.